I gave my children everything, except the one thing they actually needed. At 89 years old, I sit in this house I built with my own hands, alone. The walls are still standing, the roof doesn't leak, the floors are polished, but the rooms are empty. They don't call anymore, and I finally understand why. For years I told myself I was a good father, a strong father, a responsible man. Now, I'm not so sure. And if I could go back, I would choose differently. When I was a young man, I believed a father's job was simple. Work hard, provide, protect. That's it. I grew up with nothing. My own father never said, "I love you," never hugged me, never asked how I felt. He put food on the table. That was his version of love. So I followed the same blueprint. By 30, I was working 12-hour days. By 40, I barely knew what my living room looked like in daylight. But my children had new shoes. They had school supplies. They had a home in a safe neighborhood. And I was proud of that. God, I was proud. I missed birthdays, but I paid for the parties. I skipped school plays, but I covered the tuition. I didn't tuck them in at night, but I made sure the lights stayed on. In my mind, that made me a good father. I thought love was measured in sacrifice. I thought exhaustion proved devotion. I thought discipline built character. I didn't realize I was building distance. I was strict, very strict. Rules in my house weren't suggestions. They were law. Homework before dinner. No backtalk. No crying over small things. If they got a B, I asked why it wasn't an A. If they were upset, I told them to toughen up. I used to say, "The world won't care about your feelings." What I didn't see was that I was the world to them. And I didn't care about their feelings either. At least that's how it must have felt. I loved them. I truly did. But my love was heavy, controlling, sharp around the edges. I confused fear with respect. I confused silence with obedience. I confused obedience with love. There's one memory that won't leave me. My youngest son, he was about 10, came home one afternoon with red eyes. He had been cast as a tree in the school play. A tree. He was embarrassed. Said the other kids laughed. He stood in the kitchen, backpack still on, telling me he didn't want to do it. And I remember what I said. I didn't kneel down. I didn't hug him. I laughed. A tree? Then be the best tree they've ever seen, I told him. Stop being dramatic. He looked at me, searching for something. Comfort, maybe. Understanding. Instead, I handed him toughness. That night, I didn't hear him practicing lines. I heard him crying in his room, and I didn't go in. I told myself he'll be stronger because of this. But strength without safety isn't strength. It's loneliness. My daughter wanted to study art. I told her artists starve. I told her she'd thank me one day for pushing her into business school. She doesn't thank me. She hasn't mentioned painting in decades. Sometimes I wonder if I crushed something delicate inside her, not intentionally, but permanently. I thought I was guiding. I was not. I was controlling. I thought I was protecting them from failure. I was protecting myself from fear. Fear that they would struggle. Fear that I had struggled for nothing. So I molded them into what I believed was secure. I never asked who they wanted to become. I decided for them. And I never apologized for it. Apologizing felt like weakness. That's what I believed. Fathers don't say sorry. Fathers stand firm, even when they're wrong, especially when they're wrong. There were arguments, loud ones. My oldest once told me, "You never listen." I told him, "I don't need to listen. I know what's best." That sentence still echoes in my head. I know what's best. As if I owned their futures, as if they were extensions of me. They weren't. They were children, my children, and they needed a father, not a commander. I don't remember ever saying, "I'm proud of you," not out loud. I assumed they knew. But assumptions are dangerous things. Children don't read silence as pride. They read it as disappointment. I see that now. Too late. The distance didn't happen overnight. It was gradual. Phone calls became shorter. Visits became holidays only. Holidays became occasional. Occasional became rare. Now the phone sits on the table most days without ringing. I keep it charged anyway, just in case. The house is very quiet at night. You notice things when you're alone at 89. The ticking clock, the refrigerator humming, the way the wind presses against old windows. I sit at the dining table sometimes and stare at the empty chairs. I can still picture them there, arguing over mashed potatoes, laughing, rolling their eyes at my lectures. I used to think I was the center of this family. Turns out, I was just the loudest voice. Last Christmas, I watched families at the park from my car. Grandchildren running, fathers kneeling down to zip coats, mothers wiping chocolate from tiny faces. I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in decades. Envy. Not of their money, not of their youth, but of their softness. They were present. I was productive. There's a difference, a painful one. I tell myself they're busy. They have their own lives, their own families, and that's true. But I also know this. They didn't abandon me. I pushed them away. Slowly, year by year, silence by silence. And now, I sit here in the quiet, and I whisper something I never used to say. I deserve this. Not in a dramatic way, not with self-pity, just truth. I built this house. I built this distance too. If you're a young parent listening to me, let an old man tell you something he learned too late. Success means nothing without connection. Nothing. You can give your children a mansion and still make them feel homeless. You can pay for the best education and never teach them they are enough. Children don't remember how many hours you worked. They remember how you made them feel when they failed. They remember whether your arms were open or crossed. Money keeps the lights on, but love keeps them coming home. I thought providing was love. It's part of love, but it's not the heart of it. Time is the heart. Attention is the heart. Humility is the heart. Saying I'm sorry is not weakness. It's glue. Pride. Pride is a lonely companion. It sits beside you when no one else will. Trust me on that. If I could redo one thing, it wouldn't be working less. It would be listening more. Sitting on the edge of the bed when my son cried, asking my daughter what she wanted instead of telling her who to be. Saying, "I'm proud of you," without adding "but." Removing the "but." That one word did so much damage. I still think about calling them, about saying it out loud. "I'm sorry." 3 words, so small, so heavy. I rehearse it sometimes, in this quiet house. I imagine their voices on the other end, older now, maybe cautious, maybe guarded, maybe still hurting. I taught them to be strong. Maybe that's why they learned to live without me. And that is a lesson I never meant to teach. If you're listening to this and your children are still young, go sit with them, even if you're tired, especially if you're tired. Put the phone down, lower your voice, say you're proud, say you're sorry, say you love them without waiting for a special occasion. Don't let silence raise them, because one day you'll wake up in a quiet house like mine, and you'll realize success echoes, but love answers back. Tell me, is it too late for a father to say sorry? Or is there still time for them to come home?